Well, thank you all. So, real quick, let's just build up where, Mr. President, reconsider this. It's okay to reconsider and change your mind when circumstances warrant. For over a year, I have been working with the Biden administration and many of my colleagues up here to try to have an agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel that would end the Arab-Israeli conflict on President Biden's watch. I believe a Democratic president is best positioned to build on the Abraham Accords when it comes to Saudi Arabia and Israel. That would be a major accomplishment. I think President Trump understands he would get his fair share of credit. I have been to Saudi Arabia and Israel 5 times since the war. The goal is to try to bring Saudi and Israel to the table to conclude a deal that would end the Arab-Israeli conflict, isolate Iran, and find a better, hopeful future for the Palestinians through direct negotiations with Israelis. I am still committed to that. Mr. President, if you do not change this policy, you will have destroyed the last best chance to deliver lasting stability in the Mideast for generations. Saudi Arabia is watching. Would you, as a nation, sign a defense agreement with the United States knowing what we have just done to Israel? Is signing on the dotted line with the United States in a mutual defense agreement equivalent to outsourcing your national security to the United States? That is the message you're sending. Israel's being asked to turn the war fighting over to the United States. Let us plan how to do this, not you. That is a huge mistake. Number one, I trust Israel more than I trust Austin. He still said Afghanistan withdrawal was a good idea. Bottom line, there's a lot at stake here. I think the region and the world is going to second-guess future relationships with us, Mr. President, if you don't change your mind. Finally, is it right to give bombs to Israel in these circumstances? I think the answer is yes. I want to define the problem Israel faces. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that has over 100,000 weapons pointed at Israel. They're Shiites. They're in Lebanon. They actively attack Israel regularly. Hamas is a terrorist organization that is dedicated to the destruction of the Jewish state, not helping the Palestinians. Their charter is not to bring about a better life for the Palestinians, but to destroy from the river to the sea all the Jews. And this is what they said after October the 7th. We're not ashamed to say this with full force. We must teach Israel a lesson, and we will do this again, again, and again. This is the spokesperson of Hamas after October 7th telling Israel, we're coming for you again, again, and again. Now, what is the proportional response to that? I want you to ask every Democrat and Republican, were you okay with using 2 nuclear bombs against Japan to end the war? Was that proportional? Were you okay with the firebombing of Dresden to break the backs of the Nazis? What is the right response to a group that rapes your women, puts your babies in an oven, and threatens to do it again? Drop bombs if you have to. So you got Hamas, you got Hezbollah, and the biggest Satan of all is Iran. In 1 week, Israel was attacked by Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran. 300 rockets and missiles launched from Iranian territory to the state of Israel. In 1 week. What is the proper response to 3 organizations dedicated to killing all the Jews if you're a Jew? What's the proper response 80 years after the Holocaust to make sure you don't have the second Holocaust? To fight with all your might. And here's what I want to say about the IDF. I've been there like all my colleagues. They're doing their best to restrict civilian casualties, I think. Here's the enemy. They're doing their best to make sure Israel kills as many Palestinians as possible. They have command headquarters under a hospital. I've been a military lawyer all my life. Hospitals are not legitimate targets unless you make them. They put weapons in mosques. They store weapons in schools. They fire rockets at Israel from apartment buildings. They're doing all they can to increase the cost of killing terrorists. For this very reason, the world will break. They could give a damn about the Palestinian people. They're religious Nazis on a quest to kill all the Jews. The last time somebody did this was Adolf Hitler. He wrote a book. Nobody believed him. President Biden, the enemies of Israel are dedicated to the destruction of Israel. Withholding weapons makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to get American hostages back and Israeli hostages back because you're incentivizing bad behavior. Withholding weapons makes Iran stronger, not weaker. Withholding weapons in the most just war since World War II makes Saudi Arabia more doubtful. The consequences of this decision, Mr. President, are going to change the region and the world for all the worse. I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you, change course. Give Israel the weapons they need to finish this fight, and I'll tell you what Israel is going to do with Rafah. They will go in and destroy these battalions. How they do it is subject to negotiation. But what I fear is this decision to withhold weapons has made the likelihood of going in Rafah greater, not less. It's going to make it longer, not shorter. And the consequences of bringing real change to the Mideast are fading with every passing day. Mr. President, if you can summon the courage to say we're going to give Israel the weapons they need, I think we can get the Saudi-Israel deal back on track. I think you'll have all the critics up here behind you applauding. And what do we want? We want Israel to survive and thrive. We want Hamas destroyed. We want the Palestinians to have a better future. That only happens when you're unequivocal. Now's the time, Mr. President, to send a message to all the bad guys. We're with Israel. Now's the time, Mr. President, to reinforce all the rhetoric you've been saying for the last 6 months. On October the 7th, things changed forever. This is Pearl Harbor and 9/11 for Israel. Our nation felt it was appropriate to drop nuclear bombs on 2 cities to end a war we could not afford to lose. I believe it's appropriate for Israel to have the weapons to destroy Hamas to make sure we never have to do this again. Here's what Bibi said. Never again is now.